SUVs may seem innocuous enough, but they're actually trained killers hiding in plain sight, taking out normal cars with deadly accuracy. This year alone, they've taken out the Buick Verano, the Chrysler 200, and the Hyundai Azera. And Ford recently announced that it was putting most of its car models on the endangered species list, which got me thinking, is there anything I can do to save the car before it goes extinct? I contemplated how to save the car for many minutes and got an inspiration from a rather unusual place. At least I think so for this kind of exercise. Those kind of crossover coupé SUV things like the X6. Now the basic formula for those are pretty simple. You take the worst attributes from a sporty car like a cramped interior and small trunk, and you add to it the worst attributes of an SUV, namely weight, size, and clumsy handling, and voila, you've got the X6. Now, I thought, what if I reverse the formula and I started with the best attributes of a car and then kind of just grafted on the stuff people love about SUVs? For my little project, I'm going to be using this, a BMW 440i Coupe. Now, this is a proper place to start if you're going to build a sporty car turned SUV thingy. This has got a twin turbocharged straight six under hood, rear wheel drive at the back, and 2 doors in the middle. So let's get cracking. When people talk about why they love their SUV so much, they inevitably cite a high driving position that gives them a commanding view of the road. Now, I've already tried to manually lift the suspension of this 440i on my own, and it didn't exactly work out. But that's okay, because when you lift a car's suspension, you usually spoil its handling. So I've come up with a way of getting that commanding view of the road without fiddling with the suspension. Aha. It took me just seconds to install this milk crate, but look at the results. I can see for miles. Now, I will say that if you want to get this SUV seating position, you are going to have to spring for the sunroof option. And I would recommend investing in a seat cushion because the plastic on this milk crate is very hard and uncomfortable. But other than that, I would call this a win. Another reason people love their SUVs is because they offer a spacious back seat for rear seat passengers. Now, I don't have the technical abilities to stretch this 440i, but I think I can do something to address its rear seat comfort. As you can see, I've gone with a couple of nice throw pillows along with a Western theme blanket to keep it nice and cozy. And to set the ambience, I've got this cool, funky lamp, and I've got an aromatherapy candle to really set the mood. And what back seat would be complete without your favorite piece of artwork? I may not have as much room back here as I would in an SUV, but I am so comfy and cozy, I just don't care. In the early days, SUVs were mostly truck-based with four-wheel drive systems intended to go off-road. But these days, most modern SUVs are car-based, and they never see any terrain more difficult than the mall parking lot. But I want to prove that this regular car is just as capable as those car-based SUVs, so I've come up with a test that's even more difficult than the mall parking lot, the dreaded gravel road test. All right, so here we boldly go where few SUVs have ever dared venture, off the pavement. Front wheels are on, rear wheels. We are officially off-roading in a normal car. And look at that, doing it just fine. Who needs an SUV? And we are out without a problem at all. Cargo space is another major reason why people are switching from cars to SUVs. After all, a car has a trunk, which is limited space, whereas an SUV has a hatchback. It's much more versatile. But I've come up with a couple clever workarounds. This is my first ingenious cargo management system. I took my inspiration for it from early automobiles that had an actual trunk on the rear of the car. Now, this thing's been wonderfully engineered with these duct tape straps that don't interfere with the trunk operation at all. You could still use the trunk if you wanted. And you can close that, and then you can also put stuff in here, and as an added bonus, it's got a strap so you can secure the lid for your drive home. Now for my second little ingenious solution, let's say you've just gone grocery shopping, you come out with your hands full here. Instead of fumbling with your keys to try to get the trunk open or doing this crazy kind of kicking thing where it looks like you're playing hacky sack with your car, you can simply hang your bags on these hooks, and you're done. No need to even open the trunk at all. How brilliant is that? We should also talk about exterior styling. Cars like this 440i are sleek and modern looking, the kind of vehicle a young person with an active social life would drive. Meanwhile, most SUVs are just rolling billboards to advertise to the world, "I've given up on life." And then there's the way they drive. And here's the beauty of all my SUV modifications. Unlike an X6, this still drives like a low-slung car. Now, I have removed my SUV seat heightening device just so you guys can actually hear me, but even with that apparatus installed, this would handle just the same. Cars have a lower center of gravity. That's just a fact of life, which means they're more nimble and they can zip in and out of traffic easier. And because this is still a car, you can take this on the back roads to have a little bit of fun and not worry about ending up upside down in a ditch. What a novel idea. Now, admittedly, the steering in this 440i isn't up to typical BMW standards. In comfort mode, it actually kind of feels like an Oldsmobile, but this still has sharper steering than most SUVs out there. And because this is smaller and more maneuverable than your average SUV, it's also easier to park or drive in heavily congested areas. Another thing you won't find in most SUVs is this car's spec sheet. This 440i has a twin turbocharged inline-6 engine with 320 horsepower. That means this can go from 0 to 60 in just 4.6 seconds. But it's more than just fast, it's pretty efficient too. The EPA says this will do 32 miles per gallon on the highway, which is the same as a two-wheel drive X1 with a 4-cylinder engine, which has almost 100 horsepower less than this and takes 2 seconds longer to hit 60. So there you have it, some pretty brilliant ways to save the car while still giving the general public their daily dose of SUV. If any automakers want to contact me to pick my brain about these ideas, feel free to contact me on Twitter at @the_DJE or via email at thedrewjohnsonexperience@gmail.com. And for the rest of you, don't forget to like and subscribe.